2025. Present at the meeting are
For Trish,
Nicole Fragnito.
Kyle Gregory.
Julia Marshall,
Jeff Romano,
Hillary Donahue.
Amber Dillon.
Martha Hertzberg, Corporation Counsel's Office.
And Kate Auetter.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes of January 9th, 2025?
I move to accept the minutes.
Is there a second?
second.
Any modifications to the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
I will just hand my markup to,
Can you explain your markups?
just a few typos under the Pass Arboretum project. Nothing
Thanks.
major, it's just
Just some typos. Okay. Oh, yes.
small modifications.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are adopted. We do not have a public meeting, but I would like to ask the board permission to open it as a public hearing because we have folks here who would like to speak either for or against the,
Actually, what I'll do is I'll just start by saying the first order
Okay.
is new. We
Okay.
do have old business, and it's a continuation of CA 2501, which is a certificate of appropriateness for 100 Windsor Place. It is to construct a garage as well as an accessory dwelling unit, and the property is located in the Berkeley Park Preservation District. As you know, you have the ability to approve with conditions, deny or hold pending submission of additional information. At the last meeting, the board determined it would hold it open pending some site visits, which all of you were able to make. So thank you for that. And at the last meeting, the public comment was closed. But at this point, now I'll hand it back over to you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that there are individuals here who would like to either speak for or against the project, I'd like the board to vote to open the public hearing.
A public comment again.
Public comment.
Need a motion
All in
to-
favor?
Oh, okay, aye. Aye.
Is that everyone? All right, okay. Okay, adopted. I'd like to call anyone here who would like to.
Oh, actually,
or
I'm
should-
wondering, should we have
Should-
the applicant should
Should the
present the
applicant
the
review?
revisions first before the comment? Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead and.
Frank, can you introduce yourself, please? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Frank Cusmano from An Architects representing the client, Dr. Brown. Last meeting, there was a couple concerns. One was the scale of the building, the structure, and the other one was what's basically going on with the drainage portion of that. I'm pretty sure that was it, right? Was there anything else? Was there those two concerns, I think, with the major players? So we went back I went back and looked at the height restriction on the zoning, and actually we were a little bit over what the required 16-foot is for the R1 district. So now elements. So I don't know if you want to go to the floor plan first, or I think it's like the first sheets. Other way, yeah. You can go to the site one too. I can explain. So taking a look at this again, originally we had the garage rotated parallel with the house, but given now you last time you didn't have the grading on the back side, so you can see the steep slope as it goes down and where that begins. So when we had it before, we had it parallel to the house, so that was actually encroaching into the steep slope, which wasn't feasible, and it kind of, crunched the property up a little bit, so we couldn't fit it in there. So we rotated it, And now it's actually parallel to the driveway, which when you go down, you go straight into the garage, basically, rather than making the turn. And what that allowed us for was to fit the ADU right behind it, which is 582 square feet, which is like, I think the allowed is 800, so we are well below what is allowed in that district. And then we have a garage that's 854 square feet. So the total of the square footage, so we are allowed 50% of the actual building structure that's there, the dwelling unit. We're allowed 50% of that footprint. So I think it was like 1494 that we're allowed. So with the combined two now, we are well below that number. We're not well below, but we're below that number. So we are allowed what is proposed currently. So I stopped that ADU footprint just before the slope, and there's some considerations on how to do the footings and everything like that. Where I've talked to the site civil guys, so there's ways to do the footing so it's not protruding out into the steep slope, and there's ways to mitigate with the the structure not like deteriorating and stuff like that. So that's been taken care of. So if you go down to the plan, and you can see there too, I added the setback lines. So we got a 4-foot setback, and then there's a 30-foot setback. And like I said, we coordinated all this with zoning. So that portion of the house is basically considered the rear of that property since it faces on Windsor. The property is on Windsor. So we meet all the setbacks there as well. You want to go to switch to the plan, please? Thank you. And you can see on that map too, all the trees. I'm sure you guys are all familiar since y'all went to the site, and I appreciate that. I think that was a good session we had where you guys all got to see the site. So here, basically, the garage is the same kind of plan we had before, 2.5 bay garage with its own entry, and then the ADU unit has its own entry, and it provides a little courtyard in between the living space there and then into going into the garage. We got living bath, bedroom, which we're allowed the 1 bedroom. And then obviously we're going to do a new asphalt driveway. You want to go to the elevations? I didn't change much as far as materials, elements, alignments to the existing house. Before, remember, we had with the story above, we had the 2 windows above. We just basically brought that whole gable down and kind of mimicked the same thing on the ADU with the different materials. So it fits nicely. Obviously, the scale, you can tell it's much better. All materials still the same from last time. Nothing really changed there. And then some perspective views. We added a couple more and stuff from last time. I want to keep scrolling. So that's the side. That's the north side. In the back there. Just a couple of views of what the iteration would be from Berkeley. You probably might not even see that much. There's so many trees back there, but just to kind of give you a sense that, that's not really visible from Berkeley. You can go the other way. There's the drainage stuff at the end. Amber, if you want to scroll the other way. At the end. There's some drainage stuff. Oh. So it was just a narrative that our landscape civil engineer put together. These are the same group that's putting together the overall site plan currently. So as you can see, we're going to add a couple some storm drains, and then it'll go to basically a dry well at the top of the slope there. And that's all laid out in the narrative. But like I said, when I visited you guys, when you guys visit the site, that we're going to, make sure everything's graded towards, obviously, the drains and get the water out away from, neighbor properties and actually at our house. So, positive drainage.
So the new dry well will keep all the drainage on the property.
Exactly. Yep.
Mentioned from the property line earlier, 16. Am I hearing that right? It's 10 there.
No, yeah, now we changed it to 10. Yeah,
You
that,
just don't have the drawing indicating.
it's 10 feet to the corner.
Oh, I thought you said it was 16.
No, it's 10 feet.
16 was the height.
16 is the.
It was a
16 is the height.
height, yeah, sorry,
And-
Howard,
and-
yeah, height.
To be clear, it's a median height. What is the overall height to the peak?
So it's probably another 3 feet, maybe 19. It's a 612 pitch, so.
Other questions for clarification from board members before do you have a comment?
This project needs additional review by the zoning staff, so you can, of course, you're here for the public hearing, take public comment. I would recommend that you hold the public comment open and not take a vote today.
Okay. Duly noted. Is that the conclusion of your explanation, your clarification of the revised drawings?
Yes.
Anyone on the board need more information, clarification? I'd like to ask those who are in attendance who would like to speak in favor to come up. And please introduce yourself.
Rex Jardine, 112 Circle Road. Thank you for the opportunity. I attended the LPR's prior meeting, provided written comments, spoke in favor then, carefully listened to those in opposition, some of whom have lived here for nearly 30 years, and carefully reviewed again the revised proposal for a 2.5-car garage and accessory dwelling for the property. What you have before you is clearly wanted or needed to better suit the anticipated needs of the Brown family who actually reside there. I would be far more suspicious of an out-of-town investor. Their recent investment of $738,000 in 2022 to own this home is commendable, and what you have before you represents another six-figure investment. Like me acquiring a large home in a preservation district, I suspect the house bought them. I sorely miss the 5 domestic help that lived in my own third floor from the early 20th century. I believe having some granularity in the sizes of residents as permitted by rezone is beneficial. Whether the ADU is a home for an aging parent, domestic help, the gardener, a nanny, a brick mason who will never run out of things to repoint in the neighborhood, professional, a faculty member, or what may or may not be a responsible college student. I think structures like this will make the Berkeley Park neighborhood more appealing to invested owner occupants. Our city itself seems to be investing very little to attract invested homeowners, especially those like the Browns with children. As an architect, sometimes the ideas in my sketchbook and in my head are often at odds with a neighborhood who can readily rally for preservation at any cost over progress at some cost. Keep in mind, 10 years ago, the 53rd mayor, who did not have children in the public schools, listened only to those who lobbied for nostalgia over inspiring or even adequate for the nearly 107-year-old wood-framed elementary school. There was a time when Ed Smith was the flagship for inclusion. It drew the attention of a nation of educators. It was then a key attraction to invested families to live within walking distance. That was 1983. Now a long time ago, and much has changed. The Brown family's investment at 100 Windsor already outstrips the $689,741.43 city's pitiful local share of that half renovation that leaves us with a still underwhelming school building, likely inadequate to continue to attract more invested families like the Browns. I supported the prior concept. I support the current concept. It has some of the suggested windows to the south. It sprawls a bit more. It is a slightly more complicated volume, maybe unnecessarily so, maybe less obtrusive to views of the family to the south, maybe is less visible from below on Berkeley, with no steps, now maybe more appealing to an elderly or mobility-challenged occupant. Like most houses in the neighborhood, it has great details. It fits in, and from any angle, I would not mind looking at it. I would encourage the Preservation Board to get behind the Browns' proposal and support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there others who would like to speak in favor of the project? If not, I'd like to ask those who wish to speak in opposition to the project come forward. Please come forward, state your name and address.
Morning. I'm Jim Swanson. I live at 303 Berkeley Drive, the property adjacent to the proposed project. And you have our written comments there in front of you. I think you got them electronically as well. I just want to emphasize one aspect of the physical part of the project. The new plan, in our opinion, remains unnecessarily large and tall at 20 feet, the peak of the garage roof. And also it still includes an ADU, which we and our neighbors oppose because it's unnecessary and superfluous. The footprint of the current plan is actually larger than the footprint of the other plan. And again, it's 20 feet high, so it's a huge building in a very small space. The surrounding houses as well are smaller than the footprint of this basically new building. The main thing I want to say is that this is like building a new house in a very small space. And I believe, and I'm speculating here, but this space is probably smaller than a typical infill space that a house would be built into. So from our opinion is, again, just to emphasize, this building is like a new house, especially when you compare it to the houses around it. And the footprint of this house, as it's currently planned, is about the same size as the footprint of our house. If you look at the plan there, and like you say, you can see that it's 10 feet from the property line, or from the property line, and our house is on Berkeley Drive, faces Berkeley Drive, as some of you saw. This is facing Berkeley Drive. Our house is visible from Berkeley Drive. That house is going to be visible from Berkeley Drive, which is one of our main problems with having that structure unbalancing the colonial house. Thank you.
I'm Susan Swanson, and I also reside at 303 Berkeley. I appreciate the comments. I want a correction that one of the things that was a problem last week, 4 of us spoke in opposition to the ADU. That was something that was omitted from the things that we were having problems with, and I want to speak to that Our other neighbors have written something to you because they were unable to be here. I'm confused why we're having the discussion about an ADU when there's a need for a garage, number one. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is the first application for an ADU that's being put before this preservation board. Is that correct? So we're looking at a detached ADU in a landmark historic district. And what you decide here is going to be precedent. How is that going to affect historic neighborhoods moving forward? Are we going to have landmark neighborhoods full of ADUs for rental, for Airbnb, for grannies, for she sheds? Where do we draw the line? I understand the need for additional housing, which is the purpose, my understanding of the purpose of this zoning. That's not the application in this neighborhood or in those beautiful houses over at Sedgwick that have much larger lots than most of the houses in Berkeley Park. So I ask you to think about that. I shared with you last time that I'm a little bit of a zealot because I worked for a couple of years to obtain a designation in Atlanta. And from our side of the thing, you have to become a politician down at City Hall. You have to be a diplomat with your neighbors. You have to study history and study architecture. So it becomes personal. And when we cross the line, then we give it to you for your consideration. So I appreciate your dedication and your commitment to the historic properties in Syracuse. And I trust that you will make the best decision for everyone involved. I do feel that perhaps Mr. Jardine might feel differently if this project was going to be 10 feet from his house. This is a huge thing to stick in between houses. So if a garage is needed, I hope you'll approve the garage that's appropriate to the property. I hope you will reconsider approving this ADU in a historic district. If the precedent is to be set, don't let it be that we can have detached ADUs in landmark areas. What we want to see 100 years from now, what we see now is a 100-year-old neighborhood. And what you want to see 100 years from now is maybe a little bit of a modernized version of it, but you want to see the historic character. That's the whole point of it. So thank you for your time, your dedication, and for giving us this platform.
Thank you. On the advice of council, we are going to maintain and leave it open.
I was just
for
going to say, if the applicant has any additional comments that you would like to make in follow-up to the comments that have been made. No, a quick clarification. How tall is the garage?
There's a line on the elevation. So, is that exactly how the regs call out the peak of, or the height?
The zoning code is different, though. The zoning code allows a
Maximum of 16 feet. So that would.
in the building code. But
Eric, can you put down your, thank you.
That's for building code purposes, but not for, that's not a rule of measurement for zoning.
Well, I guess we would need clarification from the zoning code for the city of Syracuse, where and how that is measured.
Yeah,
From
in
grade
fact, I was just having,
to either the peak or grade to the median height of the roof. Well, we'll need clarification on that. Did you want? Can't speak to that, but do we want to allow? Rex, do you have additional information?
historically. One unit over it, chauffeur wife live there. You know, it's an added, fabulous. Most underwhelming thing is in the neighborhood is that we look directly at the poorly constructed religious facility behind us.
Okay.
Are you saying it's, what's the height? Oh,
No, well,
Well,
that's
yeah,
not,
yeah.
well, but that's not germane. We need to know what the regs say in terms of how you measure the height of
How you measure a peak
the peak.
structure.
well, her question was, you know, is there something similar? And then matter of height. I have a question though. When it's 16 feet, is that the max, meaning it can't be at 16? It has to be below 16?
16.
Just,
But what we need clarification here is how it is measured, and many municipalities write in their regs exactly how it's measured, and sometimes it is to the mean, and sometimes it is to the peak, just like they measure in terms of soffits, and are you measuring from the property line to the soffit line, which is the rain line, or to the face of the wall? So we need one other thing I think I need to note is that the board has no oversight on whether an ADU is allowed or not allowed within this district.
The use.
The use
is not-
of the ADU. So.
Or the
we-
use of a structure.
Of the,
Yeah, yeah.
right, of the structure. Okay. No more comment on that. So we can speak to the scale, the massing, the design of the structure. Comments from the board?
No more, actually.
the zoning director will reach out to you with respect to the total square footage of the accessory structure, which is the garage and the ADU, and the height of the structure.
Feet to the peak or 16 feet to the median height? Okay. So I guess,
There are possibly other issues with the zoning review, so I'm not going to put them on the record right now, but as I said, the director of zoning will be reaching out to the applicant to discuss it.
okay. Are there comments, I can start off. I do have some comments.
Or no comment?
No,
Yeah.
no comment? Okay.
On design?
No.
Okay,
No, we'll just hold it
open?
open.
Okay.
Yeah. And,
All right.
and wait for comment. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Modest version of international style building, and then the other is the Syracuse Boys Club next door, which is more of a collegiate Gothic. I don't know if you've had the chance to review the the nominations, but just to quickly say, the Utica Mutual Insurance Building was built in 1956. It's eligible or is being nominated under Criterion C for its architecture. And it was designed, as I said, by King & King, and King & King actually had their offices in the building. I was not surprised, but, well, I guess surprised. Utica Mutual, actually, they built it and then only stayed there for 4 years before vacating. Which I thought was interesting. I'm not sure how long King & King was in the building. So that is the one, so that's Criterion C. And then the Boys Club, built in 1922, is eligible under criteria A as well as C. So A for its social history related to the Boys Club. And I found it to be a really interesting history, did not know this, the boys' clubs. And then under C for its architecture, it does say it is one of the only, the only collegiate Gothic non-religious example in the city, which is actually incorrect, with their couple on the National Register. That there's the casket company that's just a little bit further up Genesee Street that the board has reviewed, as well as, these are just a couple that popped into my head, home headquarters building on the old Meeker warehouse that's on Erie Boulevard, also collegiate Gothic, also on the National Register. Let's see, what else can I say? Anyway, so the State Preservation Office.
It's time for buildings like these to get recognized on the National Register, and I was surprised that the Boys Club was not already listed. Yeah.
I just had I noticed in my review that there are just some factual questions, like I thought they were well done, except that, for example, it says that there were some questions I had about, well, for example, it says that King & King were responsible for the Central High School, which I believe that was in Archimedes Russell and not King & King.
Right.
Firm-wise,
Well,
the
which is,
continuity of the same.
I just made the comment that the dichotomy between the two, and yes, they're 30 years apart, but Melvin King, and I'm not familiar with the Johnson brothers, but Melvin King is in the period of Archimedes Russell at that firm. And then this change in King, it probably is Russ King, who is, I mean, it goes Melvin King, Russ King, and then, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this documents different eras of the King architects. So, which is kind of cool.
It is.
They were in that building, I think, for almost 30 years.
Okay.
That's essentially
Yeah.
their headquarters until they move out to Manlius in the 80s.
So, oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
And then they were out there for they're almost 30 years there,
Yeah.
and then came downtown.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in big favor of both of these buildings. I love the Boys Club building. It's one of my favorite buildings downtown. I'm not a fan of, what are they calling it here? Contemporary International?
International style.
Not a fan of it, but whatever. It's getting old, and it's where King and King was. So I think just on that grounds alone, in terms of the historic structure for Syracuse, I think it fits the grounds. Yeah.
It doesn't,
got a
it
curtain
doesn't,
wall.
right, yeah, but
would
it
you call
really
it?
doesn't rise to that. I'd
Yes.
have to think about that.
Just
But I-
curious, asking an architect.
Okay. But I don't think it rises to that period of architecture.
Whatever period it is, I'm not.
Fan of the type of
I'm not a fan of
architecture?
that type of building at all.
Oh, I don't have,
I have strong dislikes of this building.
I have a general kind of question on the designation. Does designation include the exterior, interior?
So this is the National Register nomination, and it does include both interior and exterior. However, it's not a local, it's not going to be a local protected site. The developers, it's the same development team for both, and they're looking to get the historic tax credits for both of these projects. So, so it's both interior as well as exterior that the State Historic Preservation Office and the National Park Service actually will be reviewing in the tax credit, in their tax credit considerations, yeah.
I want to say the Dawson Brothers, they were a pretty big construction firm in Syracuse.
so was it the early design build?
You- I can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Yeah, sorry. wait.
I said, my question is if, I'm not familiar with the Dawson Brothers, but if they were a construction firm, it
That'll sting.
lends itself to the thought that perhaps that was the early thought of design build.
Yeah.
Oh, that's,
I don't know. That
I
would
want to
be
say they,
interesting
I
to
think they
know.
did like the Lafayette building on West Fayette.
They were Masons. They did Carnegie on SU's campus.
So that's interesting
Done
that
the
they're
Delahan
listing
building.
them as architect.
No, they're builders.
no buildings.
Well, but it's under,
I thought,
well, let me go look
was
at
it
that.
not the same firm for both buildings?
They were around for a long time.
They
I
mentioned
saw
that
that.
in the newer building as well.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
I'm so used to being able to search things in a PDF.
Yeah, this is right. Control F, please. Do you have a PDF of it?
I thought I saw Dawson Brothers in the additional
Oh, I
nomination.
see what, okay, sorry.
Bob, I have a quick, or to the
Anyway.
board too, I do have a quick question. It says that King and King, I believe, also, designed the lawyers' building. Do you know where does anyone know where the lawyers' building is? It's not in the South Salina Street Historic District. It may be in the downtown historic district, but I'm not sure which one that is.
I
Yeah.
don't know either.
Okay, I'll just ask, so,
I was going to say, I can look around.
Page 14 of the other nomination does say it's constructed by the Dawson Brothers. So that's interesting. It's the same architecture firm and the same contractor.
so can I just get, I'm going back to the Central High School question again. The National Register nomination says it is a Archimedes Russell. They're suggesting Melvin King was involved with that too. Is that quite possible? Then that,
That's right.
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah.
that would have happened. Okay.
He's kind of taking over at that point, because he
At that-
tried the
okay.
courthouse and Central
I was
High
just
all
gonna say
at
the
the
cour-
same time.
The courthouse was part of that as well.
Okay.
That actually, I think was why King is so well known, is because of our communities.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay. Does
We're kind of
anyone
on
have any
the
other,
tail of that. What?
if you,
Full support.
full support of
Agreed.
both? And then I'll add that little bit of nuance about actually, I think it would be an interesting thing to be able to add to both nominations, some saying the side-by-side different eras of the same architectural.
Same
architectural
contractor as well.
Yeah, same contractor for both, yeah. So,
I want to say Dawson Brothers was huge.
I just-
Huge company in Syracuse.
Just wouldn't call it international stuff. Sorry. Okay. Is that it?
that is all I,
Do
that
I
is all I
have a
have.
motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Good job.
I don't know.
That's a tough one.
When I did Kingston's history.
It could have been.
Buildings they did. This one I wanted to.
Yeah, I would especially.
They should. I should be able to get it just by.
What's going on?
That, yeah, I'd like to jump into the pool if I had the water in it. Yeah, I guess. There's so much of that downtown. With an actual building that pretty, and the sheriff's building. Did they build it with a size? It's a brutal building. Yeah, it's a building. Oh, yeah, let's get after it. Absolutely. He's got something. Well, I look forward to hearing Corey. He'll visit. Yeah, let's get together, absolutely. I'll shoot him a text.
Guys, have a good day.
Take care, Howard.
Hey, Bob. Just wanted to touch base real quick. Pictures.
Yes, of Passover. Yes. Let me finish digging around today. I was out sick for 3 days, and last week I was pulled in 8 different directions. I will pull together. I also wanted to try to get. Have you heard back from Ruth?
Yes, we're going to her house.
Oh, good.
In 2 weeks.
Good.
We have an update, but in 2 weeks we're going to be out to give her the presentation.
Okay. All right. Give me today and tomorrow to dig together, and I'll send stuff to you. I thought. What's funny is you sent that email, the original email, and it was so proper and everything. I'm like, it's got to be Jeff from the Landmark Prison. So like, I was gonna send back like a friendly, like, thanks for and I'm like, maybe it's some other Jeff. It cracked me up. I'm like, Jeff, you're so inside the book. But no, it's just making me laugh. Give me today and tomorrow, and I'll, because I wrote a column about the Pass Arboretum like a year and a half ago, and I don't really remember there being much in terms of images because it's but like I said, give me another 36 hours, and I'll send you an email by you tomorrow. All right, appreciate it. You're gonna love Rosie. Have you ever met her before? Oh my God. Oh yeah.
I own that house right now.
Oh my God, she's gonna love that, dude. Jeff, her mind, she's over 100 years old. She is like her safe. It's a vault, and she has lived so much history in the city, and she's connected to all. She was there when Lindbergh landed at Amboy Airport, dude. It's crazy. She's a sweetie. I used to go visit her like every couple of Fridays and have coffee. It's been a minute. I gotta get out. You're gonna have a year. She's gonna love that story about Highland Air. All right, brother. All right, I'll let you know. Thank you. Yeah, if that works for you.